Welcome, and we're doing a video for the first time with you on the channel. I think you've maybe featured a little bit in a couple of videos, have you?
Maybe in the background of some
Right, yeah.
classroom videos.
We're just going to introduce you to people on YouTube because you're now a member of the team. And I thought it would be nice if we could just chat about where you're from, what you're up to in Vietnam, what you have been doing, what you do as a ninja teacher. So yeah, let's crack into it. So why don't you start with where did you grow up and where are you from?
So I'm from Reno, Nevada in the United States. Yeah, it's very different from here.
Yeah, did you grew up there, went to school there?
I did. I actually grew up in Utah. I don't tell many people that, but until I was 15, and then I moved to Reno. But I really see Reno as my hometown. It's beautiful up in the mountains, and there's a lot of just kind of diverse landscape, a lot of area in the state of Nevada, unpopulated area. So it's a really beautiful place.
Yeah, it reminds me a bit of South Africa when I lived in Cape Town. It's got the mountains and the ocean there too. It's really beautiful. And what were you doing before you came to Vietnam?
So it actually took me about 7.5 years to get my bachelor's degree, going part-time and working full-time. So I went to a community college for about 5 years part-time, and then went to university, got my degree in education. When I was doing my last semester of my education degree and doing student teaching, I kind of got burnt out and realized that I didn't really want to teach in the States.
Right.
So then that's when I started looking at other options for teaching, because I do care. I've always wanted to be a teacher. I've always known that I was going to be. But just the environment of public schools in the United States wasn't really where I felt like I wanted to be.
What is it about the environment of public schools there?
Just the workload is a lot. You work so many hours outside of classroom hours and put in so much time, and the pay is just not enough for all the work that teachers do. I don't think they're fairly compensated for all the work that they do.
Right. I heard something about $30,000 a year or something.
Starting.
As low as that.
Yeah, it depends on your qualifications. It depends on where you teach.
I saw the Jake Paul video where he's like dissing teachers, which I thought was just so bad that he would actually do something like that when it's the education of the youth that people are, that he's talking about, and dissing them with a really bad rap video.
Yeah.
Did you see that?
I didn't see it, no.
Trust me, you don't want to.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it's kind of crazy that teachers, and it's so important that they're there to help the youth and improve education, and yet they don't get paid that well and get treated badly within the classroom by students to a certain degree. I mean, not everywhere.
Depends. I was a bad student too, so.
Right. Sure.
I think teenagers are particularly tricky with that, but it's such an important role. And it makes me sad that I can't teach there where I grew up and in the education system that I grew up in. I want to make that better, but until there's changes made there, it's just not worth it to me. It's not worth my time and energy. And I know a lot of teachers, and they get burnt out really quickly.
Right. So what were you doing part-time while you were studying?
I worked at a health pet food store for a while. I was a dog walker. I bartended, worked at a hookah lounge, a lot of odd jobs.
Right. Yeah, it's expensive too to study in the US, right?
It is, yeah. I went to a private Christian university in Portland, Oregon, and the tuition was like $30,000 US a year. But I did get a pretty good scholarship package, so I definitely didn't pay that.
Right. But do you still have student loans?
I do, yeah.
So many people do.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, that's like half the people that come out here to teach. They're like, yeah, I'm paying off student loans.
Right.
So once you got your degree, then what next?
So I was actually planning on taking a Tehsil course through my university in Portland, but not enough people signed up for the course, so they ended up canceling it. And I had already bought my ticket here. I had like my entire plan set on the month-long course and then coming here.
Right.
So when I found out that it was canceled, I was pretty devastated, and I was like, oh, this is my whole plan, nothing's gonna work. And then my mom ended up doing some research and found a 4-week Tehsil program here to take. And honestly, I'm so glad that I did that, because I feel like if I had taken the same course in the US, it wouldn't have prepared me for the actual teaching environment here. So even though I was so upset, it was a blessing in disguise that, that I feel like I'm better prepared having taken it here.
Right, yeah, I think that's one of the big things with our course here, is like actually doing it in Vietnam, and you can teach with Vietnamese students, teach them during your practical solo teaching.
Yeah.
I think that really gets you prepared for the classroom. But we can talk about that in a bit. I just wanted to find out what made you want to teach English, first of all, all abroad, and then secondly, Vietnam.
Specifically Vietnam. My best friend in the whole world lives in the US in Reno, and he's from here, from Saigon. And so we've been friends for about 7 years, and I've backpacked some in Southeast Asia a few years ago when I was younger, and Vietnam was one of the only countries I didn't visit, just because the visa was too much to figure out for young me. But it was always on my list of places to go because my best friend is from here. And so that's kind of why I got set on the path of looking at Vietnam to teach. And then after doing research, it's one of the best paying for lowest working hours, anywhere in the world to teach ESL. Compared
to living costs too.
Yeah, cost.
I think you get objectively higher salaries in some countries, but then living costs are also often a lot higher.
You end up working a lot more hours typically, which I like, having a pretty flexible schedule.
Right.
Not working 9 to 5.
Yeah, that is nice. So those were some of the draws of Vietnam and teaching in Vietnam. And where did you hear about teaching English abroad?
I actually, through my university, 2 years ago, I went to Hong Kong and taught for just over a month. And that was just like a summer kind of vacation Bible school English camp. So that was kind of my first experience. I taught a 5th grade class, and they were just wonderful, and that really set me on my path to want to actually move to another country to do it.
Nice. I like Hong Kong. It's a really cool city. Were you in the city on the island, or?
No, I was in Tin Mun. It's really residential kind of area, which wasn't the nicest, but we went into the center quite a bit.
Yeah.
Went to Disneyland.
Cool. It's also super expensive there.
It is.
But I like how developed and modern it is. But Vietnam's also heading in that direction with the development. Yeah. In fact, with that construction going on right here, there's actually a huge subway line that they're building now. So
we'll see.
It's taking a while, right? Yeah. So you mentioned going through and doing the Tehsil course here, and then you got a teaching job after that. You mentioned that you
jobs. I got hired pretty much immediately out of the Tehsil course. The last week, I started the Thursday of the last week of my 4-week course, working for a company called Power English. They placed me in, I think it's like a privatized public school, so a public school but with kind of higher tuition than other schools. And I was teaching pretty much 1st through 11th grade, 8 different grade levels, up to 5 in one day, 7:30 a.m. to 4 Monday through Friday. And so I ended up fulfilling just a probationary contract with that, because it was just a lot of work and a lot of switching modes between 1st grade and 11th grade. But it was also a really good experience, because it kind of helped me hone in on what grade levels I really do enjoy teaching. I went to university thinking I was going to be a high school teacher, and I was really surprised to realize how much I love teaching smaller kids, and kindergarten is my favorite. So.
I've noticed that a lot. People expect to like one age group, and then they like the complete opposite.
Yeah.
Like maybe a guy who seems like he would be interested in teaching adults, and then he's really good with kids and he enjoys it. So
yeah, it was a surprise. I was honestly a little terrified of a large group of small children. I can handle a couple at a time. But when I started teaching in kindergartens, I worked for a company called Tan Van that sent me out to different kindergartens all over the city, and it was just so much fun. Like, they have so much energy, and you can just be so super silly, and they just laugh, and I really love toddlers. I never thought I would.
Yeah, it does require a lot of energy though, right? So how much teaching did you do with them? Like, how many hours?
So it was only usually like 2 hours in the morning, 2 hours in the afternoons, 30-minute blocks. So 30 minutes with one class, 30 minutes with 4 in a row usually, twice a day. So it wasn't a ton of hours. And it was also a lot of travel because I was, like I said, at schools all over the city. They would send me to new schools every week. I had a couple that I would go back to routinely, but it was kind of all over the place. And that was really interesting because I got to experience a lot of different parts of the city, got to experience a lot of different schools, got to meet a lot of different children. But it was also so much time on a motorbike out in the pollution and a lot of money in Grab costs because I'm not driving yet.
So you are driving a motorbike now?
No.
You're not?
No, I bought a motorbike, but I'm not driving.
Okay, right. Yeah, so you've mostly been using Grab then?
Yeah.
So for anyone who doesn't know, motorbike, taxi app.
Uber, yeah, motorbike Uber.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so that is a little bit inconvenient, right? So what do you find it works well? When you're first figuring it out, it's definitely a little inconvenient. You end up late, you end up lost if you don't know where you're going, because sometimes they won't use their GPS. But I think I've figured out most of the kinks with like the places that I go. I was late a lot my first while working, especially going to different schools. And then one day I just decided I wasn't going to be late anymore and left 20 minutes earlier than I ever thought I should and ended up early. So I've kind of worked out a system with Grab that I never get. I ended up being really stressed out a lot just because I wouldn't give myself enough time for, if they have to stop to get gas or fill up their tire or just drive really, really slow. So I've definitely figured out how to plan for that, so I'm less stressed in general. It does work pretty well overall. I mean, you just pull out your phone, put in the address, click go, and within a minute or so, a guy will. It depends when where you are, where you are, but it can be very fast. It'll come in a few minutes. Yeah. What do you think the average time is for the Grab? To arrive to you, I would say within 5 minutes. Yeah. Especially here in District 1. Right. Yeah. And there's no other way to experience this city. If you're driving, you can't be looking around at everything. And it's so cool, especially at night, to just sit on the back of a motorbike and take in the whole city. Yeah. You don't understand everything you miss riding in a car because you can't see the tall buildings. Just a couple days ago, I was on a Grab bike and they were lifting this giant palm tree up to the roof of this building, and I'm I'm underneath a suspended palm tree right now. Yeah. It's so cool. It was really funny. I was driving, I think it was last night or the night before, and there was a guy on his bike with his dog standing behind him on the bike, but he was surfing along, the guy wasn't going slowly either, and the dog was just perched on there, and he was going over bumps and stuff, and you could see the dog kind of going like this to make sure it didn't fall off. Just used to it. Yeah. It's so funny. Second nature to the dog, he must have grown up doing it. Yeah. So you see funny stuff, and you see funny stuff on motorbikes, right? Carrying huge things on the back of motorbikes. Yeah. Thousands of eggs. Yeah. Yeah, it's a pretty good way to get around if you don't ride a motorbike. You said you bought one. I did. I'm working on it. I'm really clumsy. I drive a car back in the US, and I'm just not a very good driver in general. So it's not really something that I'm willing to, take a big risk on because I know myself, and so I've just mostly, been afraid to do it. But I'm thinking about taking a safety course and seeing if that helps.
I've had some friends offer to like take me out on rides, but I usually bail because I'm scared.
Did you see the video that Miranda and Angie did?
Yeah, the ride with me.
Lessons, yeah. I think that's a nice way if you get someone to just take you on a little lesson and ease you into it. But it's also good to know for the people that see the traffic and videos, and they're like, do I have to get a motorbike and ride around? You don't have to, right? So it's good to know that there are ways to get around.
Yeah, public transit honestly is really great too. Like the bus is 6,000 dong per ride. It goes literally straight from our office to my house. It takes about 45 minutes. So in traffic, it takes about the same amount of time as a motorbike anyway. So that's convenient.
Yeah, she has a motorbike and she drives, but she often takes the bus because she lives out by Go-About District.
Yeah, in District 12.
Yeah, so...
and the bus is cheaper than parking here, so...
Yeah, the parking's like 10,000 here.
Right.
So it makes sense to, if you have the extra time, just jump on the public transport too. I would say the bus system is like not as good as it could be in other countries. You know, in South Korea when I lived there, the bus system was really good. Here it's okay. It'll get you where you need to go.
Right. Yeah. If you have to transfer lines, it gets a little tricky, and like figuring out where to get off, and the buses don't always stop, especially if there's only one person getting on or off. It's like a rolling stop, so it's a little scary, but once you get the hang of it.
Slows down a little bit.
Yeah.
And if you're on a motorbike, buses and trucks are the most scary thing.
Get out of the way. Yeah, everyone gets out of the way of the bus.
Exactly. Yeah, so you also mentioned, and this is something I wanted to ask you about, some of the challenges and downsides of living and teaching in Vietnam. You mentioned pollution. How do you find that? Do you find it's doable? Is it bearable? Or is it something that really bothers you?
It doesn't bother me all that much. When I was doing that job where I was traveling to different schools all day, every day, I definitely was getting sick a lot more. So I also think, you know, quitting that job was for the best for my health too. I wear a mask with a filter now. But it's kind of uncomfortable for me. It gets super sweaty. So usually I only use it when there's a lot of traffic or at rush hour when there's lots of bikes. But yeah, getting caught behind a bus with the exhaust blowing at you is never pleasant.
That's one of the things I was thinking about with the public transport is it seems like a lot of the exhaust fumes come from the government's buses. And you think they would kind of make sure that the buses were a little bit
more
better
efficient
conditions so that they don't do that. But I find it's not too bad. The actual pollution level, the PM 2.5, if you look at an app that shows you that, it's usually not that bad. It's more like that street level exhaust fumes that comes from it if you're on the back of a motorbike. That's the only thing that really gets to me. And I also wear a face mask when I'm riding. So I mean, some people are like, you know, being in the city feels like there's pollution, but I honestly don't find it too bad overall.
Yeah, it's definitely better than places I've been. Like I grew up in Utah, and Salt Lake City is like the worst pollution in the U.S. And yeah, being in Hong Kong, the pollution was bad. Like it's doable. It's better here than China.
Right, yeah.
So,
I see it on that map of the pollution levels in China is really bad.
Yeah.
Even in South Korea, people don't talk about the pollution levels, but then in a certain time of year, you get the yellow dust from China, which is, it comes up, pollution goes into the clouds and comes over in South Korea, and then there's like, it's literally, you see yellow dust on things. Really
what is it? Just a chemical or?
It's something like the chemicals have
factories
gone into little grains of sand or something, and then it just lands everywhere, and obviously you're breathing it in too.
Yeah.
So I mean, people don't talk about it in South Korea, but it is an issue there too. And I think in most places in Asia, you're going to be affected a little bit, at least. But it's obviously something that's people are concerned about when they come out here. But then on the other hand, you know, PJ, who just finished up our course, he got a job in Funyang district, and then he just got his apartment like 5 minutes walk from
Nice.
where he's working. So that's really nice too, and you don't have to commute as much.
I honestly like commuting. I like the neighborhood that I live in. I live in Govap district, which there are hardly any foreigners, but I really love all my neighbors. I love my house, and it's very inexpensive.
Right.
So I have a housemate. We have a 2-bed, 2-bath house, 3-story house that's brand new. And we pay like $260 US a month between the two of us, so 130 each.
Between the two of you?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Plus around $1 million in utilities, so
Yeah.
like $45 each a month in utilities. But
it really is cheap out there.
cheap. It's also unfurnished, so any furniture that we've had, we have to collect.
Right.
We're still pretty unfurnished after 9 or 10 months living there, but I love it.
Crazy cheap. Wow.
Yeah.
So I mean, I live now in District 1, and it's a service apartment, and it's simple. It's like a room maybe this size with a little kitchenette, bathroom, shower. It's got a bathtub, which is quite rare.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. And it's about $500. So you know, you pay a lot more in this area.
Right, and I have a lot more space, I'm sure.
Right. But also we have, I get like cleaning a few times a week and my washing done. It's like, and they make sure everything is running well. So
Exactly. I don't have any of that.
pros and cons. But also, I mean, for me, it's just I've been here a while, and living right here near Ninja Teachers, like it's worth the time, the extra pay, paying the extra to make sure that I'm like, close by and I can just pop in and out of work if I need to.
Yeah.
Yeah, so but that's really good. So on that note, when you've been earning money, you said you've been doing a few jobs here and there. So what have you been able to like make a decent amount of money per month and then save some of that?
I'm not that good at saving. Honestly, I have a much more, trying to think of a word. I'm able to do a lot more here because obviously cost of living is so low, and I am making a decent wage, more hourly than I was ever making in the U.S. So, but if I was more disciplined, I would definitely be able to save money. But I really like going out. Like my social life is a really big deal to me. So I like spending time with my friends. I like going to different activities, and there's always something going on here. Something new to check out, somewhere new to go, and so many good places to eat all over the place, so many places to go meet people. So I'm definitely a very social person, and I spend more money than I should.
Right.
But
so you can like drinks and stuff if you go out can be very cheap, but then also like you can end up at a bar where it's super expensive.
Right.
Eating out can also be really cheap. Like you can get a bowl of food for $1, but then you might go to a restaurant where it's like $10 for something.
Exactly.
So
yeah. It's a lot
it
of
can go up quite quickly, even though we normally say $800 a month, easily live a great lifestyle. Some people tend to spend more and some spend less.
Yeah, it kind of depends on your lifestyle. I definitely don't eat a ton of Western food. Sometimes when I just feel like crap, I'll go to McDonald's. But other than that, I pretty much eat Vietnamese food. I love the food here so much. And it's so cheap, especially in Govap where I live. Like I can get a bowl of pho for $30K, so about $1, com tom, rice and pork, and all the food. Banh mi for 15. My favorite, I don't know. I love everything.
Yeah, Vietnamese food is great. It is also a food that I feel like you can eat very often. Like I love Thai food, is one of my favorites, but it's a lot richer, like all the curries and stuff like that.
All the peanut.
I never feel like I want to eat Thai every day. Vietnamese food, I can eat it every day because it's kind of light and
it's healthy. Like I don't know, it seems healthier than what we eat in the U.S. Just processed meats and I don't know, the food seems fresher.
Right.
The vegetables. I never knew I liked tofu until I moved here.
Right.
So.
Nice. And you are vegetarian, right?
I'm not.
Oh, no, you're not. Yeah.
I ate everything.
Yeah, another person on the team that's not vegetarian. Everyone was like, it was getting taken over by Kyle and Angie and was there someone else? No.
Was Eddie vegetarian?
Yeah, Eddie was too. They were watching documentaries about it. I don't want to think about it. But I like the Vietnamese dishes that happen.
Yeah.
So.
I love food, and you know they have a lot of pride in the way that they prepare their different meats and everything.
Yeah.
I'm not big on Vietnamese people really like chicken feet and the skin and the bones and stuff, and that's kind of where I draw the line. But
what's the craziest thing you've seen food-wise?
The craziest thing that I've tried is, have you seen the 100-year-old eggs? They're like
the
black.
balloos?
No, not baloo. Those are fertilized duck eggs.
Yeah.
So they have like an embryo.
Yeah.
I haven't eaten those. I've seen them.
Right.
But they also have these eggs that are like black, and I don't know if they're pickled or what they do, but they like ferment them for a super long time.
100 years?
100-year eggs, they're called. I don't know if they actually let them sit for 100 years, but it's kind of like blue cheese. It's the weirdest thing.
I haven't tried that.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
It's interesting.
I think the biggest thing for me is like some dishes will have just more of the animal than you would usually have back home. Like, you know, sometimes you have a chicken leg back home or a chicken breast. Here, you know, you can get like, chicken feet.
And they like it. They like eating the skin off the chicken feet. It's so weird. I'm like, why would you order a bowl of chicken feet? There's no meat. But to each their own.
But yeah, the other food is really great. So yeah, let's talk a little bit about, you recently joined the team here at Ninja Teacher. So what made you interested in coming to join us here?
Honestly, I really believe that the best way to set yourself up right in Vietnam is to do an in-person Tehsil course, because even though this will not prepare you for everything you're going to experience here, it's the best thing to do that. Like, anyone can get a Groupon for a $60 online Tehsil course, but it's not going to teach you. And what I really love about Ninja Teacher is the quality that we put into it, because we care about the people that we put out there, caring about the children and helping.
So what do you think is the biggest challenge for a new teacher coming into Vietnam and starting to teach for the first time?
Just kind of adapting to the way that things are. I think one of the most shocking things for me was actually the violence in the schools. How if there were children misbehaving, the TAs sometimes would hit them really hard or take them out in the hall and bring them back crying, and that was really shocking. But as a teacher, having classroom management strategies and being able to run your classroom in a way that doesn't happen is really cool for me, because I know that if I can keep all my kids engaged, and if there is a special student that needs special attention, keep them engaged or find something for them to do that makes them feel like part of the community, they won't be dragged out into the hall as much. And so it's definitely a different culture here with education, and being able to bring that kind of soft touch in and love children. Like, there's not really any special education here. There's nothing to help students with disabilities and stuff. They just kind of expect everyone to do the same things. But so being aware of different challenges that the students may have is really, really important to me, because if I have a student that just can't sit down, I'm going to figure out a job like, can you come tally this on the board for me? Do you want to hold my flashcards while we drill them? And not make them feel like they're a bad student.
Yeah. Because that's a lawsuit waiting to happen right there in any other country.
Right.
Which I think is a good point you made, and it's something that Kyle's always trying to drive home in the trainings, that preventative medicine when it comes to classroom management is a good thing, which essentially means preparing for setting up a positive learning environment instead of disciplining.
Yeah, fear and
negativity.
discipline is not a way to
Yeah.
teach children. So
Absolutely. What other things do you think have been tough for you and other people might find challenging about Vietnam in general?
it's really hot all the time. There's a lot of stairs. No, I love it. Honestly, there's always going to be things that don't work the way you think they should, or things that make you uncomfortable. But you just have to get over it. Like, there's going to be cockroaches no matter where you live. There's going to be cockroaches. There's probably going to be rats. Like,
You just scared away at at least 20% of people who are considering going to Vietnam.
It's fine. Right, and it is, it's scary at first, but you get used to it. And, we're kind of in the jungle. We're definitely in a concrete jungle, but there's a lot of greenery here and a lot of beauty within this city. That, the things that make you uncomfortable, you should conquer, because a cockroach isn't going to hurt you.
Right.
In reality.
Except if you're one of my old roommates, a friend of mine, she had a legit phobia, like a phobia to the point that she would just freeze up and not be able to function when she saw a cockroach.
Yeah.
It was really bad. So she was living up in Hanoi when I was living with her. She had a few instances of having panic attacks.
Right.
But other than that, yeah.
I get it. I've always been kind of an adaptable person, so anything that I'm uncomfortable with, I'm just like, okay, I just can't care about that anymore, because it's a waste of energy. It's not something that's going to change. But I definitely think that, I don't know, the reward is so much bigger than any of the issues that I've had here. Like, it's definitely challenging moving to another country and moving away from your family and your friends that you've had, and you have to, build a community and trust people that you don't know, and you have to seek out friendships, because it's really easy to get lonely here too if you don't have a close-knit community. Really recently, I'm just about at the year mark here, and all of my friends left in the past month. Pretty much all of them, and I'm like, you guys are so weak, you didn't even make it a year. And it is hard to do this, and I understand a lot of people didn't plan on staying longer than a year, or they should be proud of themselves for making it that far. But the nature of being an expat in another country is that people come in and out of your lives. So that has probably been the biggest challenge for me recently. Is I have like a girl group, Facebook group, message group, and there's like 7 of us in there, and there's literally 3 of us left now, and I'm like, everyone's gone.
Yeah.
But also, like I said, there's so much opportunity to go out and make new friends every day and to build that network. And that's another great thing about doing the Tehsil course here is you start off your journey with a group of people. You might not like all of them, but there's going to be 1 or 2 that you really bond with and that you'll probably stay in contact with for the rest of your life. And these are people from all over the world with such different life experiences, and I have so much to learn from everyone I meet here.
Yeah, absolutely. And not to mention now, that's what part of your job is.
Yeah.
As a teacher, is like building up that community and support that we have here. So we've had a lot of people come through us teaching in Vietnam, and I think we've done definitely better than any other company I know in Vietnam building up a community. But it is something that we could even focus on more, because it is important to have that network of people. And as much as you want to make friends with locals and integrate yourself in life here, it's also easier in a lot of ways to bond with people that are in the same situation as you from a
similar background.
Moving to another country, at least some similarities in background and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, it's definitely good to have a mix. Like, I do have a lot of Vietnamese friends here too, and I learned so much from them. Like, Vietnamese people are so resilient and hardworking and so happy, and they'll always invite you to come drink with them, to come eat with them. They always want to feed you, and so it's good having a balance of that.
Is there anything else that Vietnamese people have going for them, you think?
I don't know, traveling in other places in Asia, I feel like places like Thailand have just been so run down by tourism, because Vietnam hasn't, it more recently tapped into the tourism market for Southeast Asia because of the American-Vietnam War. So they've been trying to get people to come here as a tourist destination since the 70s, but it's really just now taken off. So I think that unlike Thailand, Vietnam is not very jaded by foreigners yet. Because we definitely, you know, people come into a country, when people move to a country, they do change the culture, they challenge the beliefs. So I think that Vietnam is still fairly green and optimistic and welcoming like that, whereas in Thailand, I've felt like more people were trying to rip me off, or people just weren't friendly. Where I stayed in Hong Kong when I taught there was a really residential area, and I have tattoos, and so, you know, you see a grandma walking down the street and she just glare at you. Whereas here, every old lady that I see smiles at me. Yeah. So it's just happy-go-lucky, like, you know, I don't feel like walking down the street everyone's trying to rob me or take my money. That if you need help with something, I'm positive you can always find someone to help. Like, my roommate's motorbike broke down, and this Grab driver pushed my roommate on the motorbike with his until we went to a shop.
Nice.
And he talked to the guy at the shop, and the guy couldn't fix it, so he pushed us to another motorbike shop. And then he sat there and waited with us for our motorbike to make sure it was running. And he was just this random Grab driver. We didn't call a Grab. Like, he saw us that we needed help. He helped us. He sat there for like 30, 45 minutes. And then I was like trying to give him money after for helping us. And he was like, no, and just drove off. Like,
wow, that's so nice.
Where else in the world would that ever happen?
Yeah, and those guys work really hard. You know, they're driving all day long and not making that much money at all. And
right.
To do that is really, really nice.
Yeah.
I noticed that I think this is an interesting one, because I've seen some people say that they think Thailand is friendlier than Vietnam, and I almost feel like Thai people are very friendly on the surface, and kind of if you meet them, they'll be friendly. But I think Vietnamese people are a little bit, maybe they might be a little bit more shy than in Thailand. But if you smile and you just like smile at a random person, there's a big chance they'll smile back. And like, can you imagine that in, I don't know, back in South Africa, South Africans are pretty friendly, but still, if you just smile at a random stranger, people would be like...
In America,
Yeah.
It would be, think you're crazy.
Right.
Can't even make eye contact with people. Like,
right.
You don't even know your next door neighbor anymore in America. So it's so cool living in a neighborhood here where, you know, none of my neighbors speak English at all. I don't speak any Vietnamese, but we're our homies. Like, you know, I have my coffee lady that I go sit with, and she tells me to cover my skin, getting too tan, and I'm like, I don't speak Vietnamese, I don't know what you're saying, but I do, because she's like, ah. But yeah, they really care, and they have no reason to care about me. Like, I beg coffee from her every day. It's not like I'm paying her mortgage or whatever, but they're just so sweet.
Nice. Well, I think that's really really helpful for a lot of people, just getting your perspective. Is there anything that you want to share just to someone at home who's considering coming out to teach English here and live here? What would you...
Just take the leap. It's so scary, especially coming from America. I feel like Americans aren't encouraged to travel internationally. I think we're taught that we need to kind of follow a certain path towards the American dream, that when we finish high school, we go to college, we get married, we buy a house, we have kids. And I don't think that international travel is really encouraged. I think we're taught that the world outside America is really scary, that it's too different. I hear a lot of people say, you know, why would I leave the country when there's so much that I haven't seen in the country? Which is true. America has very, very diverse landscapes and places. It's such a beautiful place in so many different ways. But for the most part, the culture is the same. And there's nothing like going to another country that has like a completely opposite culture and what you learn about yourself doing that. Like, I have learned so much just about myself and everything I take for granted and everything, you know, that I just kind of took advantage of and didn't care about in the U.S. To see someone so grateful for so little here, it's just so humbling, and to be able to experience a life where you're not just spoiled and play video games all day, and I don't know, it's exciting. Take the leap.
Nice. All right, cool. Well, thanks, Steph, and I hope we'll do some more videos where you can share more. But I think it's nice that those who are watching the videos can get introduced to you, and yeah, we'll speak to you soon.
Awesome. Thank you.
All right.